everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Christy. I am so excited that you're here. In today's video, I am covering what you should know before you travel to Istanbul, Turkey. So this might seem like a weird video to kick off my Turkey series. I filmed so many videos while I was in Turkey. I have so much to share with you guys, from a list of the must-eat foods while you're there to a little neighborhood and site guide of what you should see while you're there, as well as some vlogs. I filmed so much, and actually when I came back, I was like, how am I going to do this? Like, I got very overwhelmed at the thought of scheduling out these videos because I didn't know what order made sense. And then I realized what I wanted to do was just to sit down and touch base with you and say hello. I am back. I am in America. I'm actually in Chicago. That is why this looks foreign to you, potentially, if you've watched my videos before. I am at my brother-in-law's condo in Chicago. We are working remotely, we being my husband and I, Barish. We are working remotely this week and next week to visit family. It has been a crazy month, crazy few weeks. That's kind of neither here nor there, but I realized I wanted to come on here and just say hello to everyone and touch base with you and tell you that I had the most incredible time in Turkey, the most incredible time in Istanbul. I cannot wait to share all these videos with you guys. It was just the most amazing experience, and I highly, highly, highly recommend that you go to Turkey if you're able to. It was just incredible. The food, you guys, if you watch my videos, you know food is like the most important thing to me. The food was incredible. It was, oh, I can't wait to show you the videos. But I thought this would be fun to kind of sit down and chat with you and go over some things that I would recommend knowing before you go to Istanbul. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do so below. I will be creating a playlist of all of these Turkey videos so that if you are traveling to Turkey and want to use them as a resource, they will all be there in the playlist, easy to access. And yeah, let's jump into what you should know before you go to Istanbul. Okay, I have a full list on my phone. This is probably not even the full extent of what you should know before you go to Turkey, but obviously this is just gonna be the things that I thought of and have been keeping track since I was on the trip. As things came up while we were in Istanbul, I literally was writing them down. So I'm gonna go in no particular order, so this is gonna be really random. But the first one is that sometimes you have to pay to use a public restroom in Istanbul / in Turkey in general. It's usually 2 to 3 lira. They're little coins. So I definitely recommend keeping some of those on you. Most restaurants obviously have a bathroom, cafes have bathrooms, but if you're at like a market shopping area, a lot of the times those will have public restrooms that you will have to pay for. We went to a botanical garden and they had ones that you paid for. Sometimes they have somebody kind of standing there and taking the money and kind of monitoring the situation. Other times it's like a, what are those things called? They rotate. Like when you're getting on the subway or something. Oh my gosh, what are those called? Anyway, you know what I'm saying. You put your money in and you push through that little rotating silver thing. I can't remember what that's called. Anyway, sometimes they have that. So just to keep in mind that you will need to keep some of those lira coins on you, just like the singles, so that you can easily pay for the restroom. Another note about the restroom. Turkey is a very modern country. Istanbul is an extremely modern city. So I know in some countries in the Middle East, they don't have a lot of like toilets. They have the squat toilets. There are those in Turkey, but every public restroom that I went to, they had regular toilets like we have here in America or in Europe. So keep that in mind. The next point is that it is so hilly in Istanbul, you guys. I was not prepared for this. It is so hilly. Like, some of the hills are so steep. Like, after our first day of walking around, after that, I was like, I'm not wearing any more face makeup. I am doing my eyebrows and I'm doing mascara on the top lashes only because it was running off the bottom because I was sweating so much. With that in mind, make sure you bring comfortable shoes. I literally cannot emphasize that enough. Honestly, if you're going in the warm months, so like middle May, probably through September, it is gonna be hot there, it's gonna be warm, and you are going to be exerting a lot of energy going up and down these hills. You need to wear comfy shoes. I don't care if they're ugly, you have to wear comfy shoes. A lot of the streets are cobblestone, most of them are cobblestone, so just wear comfortable shoes. Also in mind with the hills is that there isn't always public transportation to get you up and down these hills. So it could involve a lot of walking, which makes it not super accessible for people who are in a wheelchair, who are not like able-bodied. If you have a stroller, So those are definitely things to keep in mind. I know that like going to Galata Tower, there actually is like a little tramway I think you can take up the hill. We did not know that, so we hiked up the hill ourselves. But I know that there are things like that, but I would definitely try to map out your route and see how hilly it is, especially if that's not as accessible to you. As far as public transportation in Istanbul, we found that walking and taking the train or tramway or the ferries were the best bet. I will talk about taxis in a second. They do not have Uber there. So obviously walking is a great option. It's a great way to see as much as possible. They have a tramway that's above ground that goes all over the city. That is an excellent option. It's very inexpensive to use, very easy to use. You get a card called an Istanbul card, and you can get that at, convenience stores. You can get a card at the train stations. Those are pretty easy to track down. So you can just like replenish that with more money and you're good to go with the ferries, the buses, the tramway, and the trains. Trains, they have a ton of trains that go underground. They have ferries that can take you across the water to different parts of the city. Highly recommend all of those options. The reason I'm saying that the taxis are a little bit more difficult to use is because while we were there, we found them to be very unreliable. One, if you're a tourist, obviously they're going to upcharge you. Luckily, since my husband is Turkish, we did not run into that issue. But if you are a tourist traveling there without a Turkish person, they will likely upcharge you. Also, they do not want to go short distances. We would go to so many cabs asking to go maybe a few blocks up this giant hill, and they would not take us because it's not like worth it to them, I guess, which is kind of weird to me because I'm like, money's money, so why not? But it seemed like they wanted to do longer drives, especially when there was a lot of traffic. So it was really hard to get a taxi a lot of the time. If you do want to get a taxi though, I would highly recommend using their taxi apps. The one that we use mostly is called B Taxi, and what is really nice about that is that you can set up your location. It's like an Uber app. You set up your current location, your destination, and they give you the price right there. So it's not a negotiable thing. So they can't upcharge you. They can't take the long way to get more money out of the trip. The price is already set, and that is what it is for your trip. So I highly recommend using that app if you're going to use taxis. I will also say using public transportation will save you some excruciating walks up those huge hills. So I would highly recommend asking a local if you're able to find out the best route to get somewhere. I wish we would have asked Barish's parents before we went to Galata Tower because his dad's the one who told us there's actually like a tram that takes you up there, and we were hot and sweaty by the time we got up there. That was a hike. So definitely try to ask around if you're able to figure out the best way to get somewhere because it might save you a hike up a huge hill. My next tip is to not just go to the European side. So Istanbul is split in half. Half is the European side, half is considered the Asian side. You take a ferry to get between the two, which I absolutely loved because I love being on a boat. But I highly, highly, highly recommend that you don't just go to the European side. The European side is where a lot of like the tourist destinations are, a lot of sights to see. But I found that the Asian side was super cool and kind of a funkier vibe. I absolutely loved it. We spent one day on the Asian side, and I really wish that we would have spent more because they just had a bunch of funky stores and cool things to check out and fun restaurants, and I just really liked the vibe. So I highly recommend that you also go to the Asian side and take the ferry because it's super fun. My next little thing to know is that absolutely get a SIM card at the airport. There is a bunch of stores at the Istanbul airport where you can buy a SIM card. You just pop open the side of your phone, take out your SIM card, put the Turkish one in, and you're able to use your phone super easily all around the country. You can get ones that have varying amounts of data allowance on them, but that came in huge handy. Just make sure that you keep your SIM card for America or wherever you're coming from. When I went on a trip to Asia in 2019, I literally lost my SIM card at our very first destination. So that was kind of annoying when I came back because I basically had to go straight to my cell phone provider store and get another SIM card. So do not lose your SIM card, but definitely get a Turkish one because it'll make things a lot easier when using your phone. Another tip I highly recommend is getting the museum pass. So this actually can work all over Turkey. There is a ton of options. I think that they have 2 levels, if I'm not mistaken, to the museum pass. They have one for people who are Turkish, and then they have one for foreign visitors. That is the one I got. I believe it was 800 lira, but I will put the price down here if that is not correct. It gives you access to so many different places, and I found that that was really worth the money, especially if you're planning on going to visit a lot of different sites and museums. Highly recommend getting the museum pass. Another tip that's just good in general, especially if you're traveling internationally, is don't drink the tap water. Luckily in Istanbul, they don't serve you tap water anywhere. If you order water, they just give it to you bottled, which is very nice. Actually, sometimes they gave it to you in a little plastic container that looked like a pudding pack, which I loved. I kept calling it my pudding water, and I loved that energy. But yes, they will give it to you in a bottle in some type of closed container. So just keep that in mind, like at the Airbnb or hotel, do not drink the tap water because you will likely get sick. And that goes for most countries. You know, our stomachs are used to what they're used to, so that's just an important thing to keep in mind. Another thing to know is that while there is delicious Turkish coffee everywhere in Istanbul, like literally every corner you can get amazing and incredible Turkish coffee, the espresso situation is a little different than in the States and I think in Europe. I'm an espresso girl. I love espresso. That is like my daily coffee situation. I always have a latte. And as the American that I am, I prefer it iced. I know. So that is kind of a situation in Turkey. Some cafes don't even serve iced coffee or iced lattes. That's not even an option. And I would honestly say as a whole, I would go the route of getting hot lattes in Turkey. It was pretty hard to find an iced latte that was as good as the ones here. And I think that's just because it's not really as much of a thing there to get an iced espresso drink. So no tea, no shade to them, but I would recommend if you're going to a coffee shop, I would probably just try to get it hot. I will say, if I needed my iced latte fix, I went to Starbucks and it was divine. Better than the Starbucks here. I actually made a video about it while I was there, so keep an eye out for that. Another thing to know is that in America, we are the land of air conditioning. God bless. You know, I love the AC. I'm very used to the AC. As it turns out, your comfort level without the AC really comes down to like what you're used to and what your body's used to. In Turkey, they don't use a lot of air conditioning. A lot of the times the trains, buses are not air conditioned. Most of them aren't. Most of the restaurants, stores, cafes are not air conditioned. The good thing is a lot of the restaurants and cafes are open air, so it is still like pretty breezy and shaded. But the hotels were air conditioned. I'm sure the Airbnbs are air conditioned, but definitely keep an eye out for that when you're booking. Make sure it says that if you're wanting an air conditioning unit, because you know, it just doesn't come with it like it does here in the States. So I would definitely keep an eye out for that. I would dress accordingly for the weather. If it's gonna be warm out, just know that you're not gonna get a reprieve of like going into a store where the air conditioning is blasting. That is not so much a thing there. So definitely dress accordingly for the weather, and knowing that like outside of your hotel and Airbnb, you're probably not gonna have a lot of AC. Speaking of dressing accordingly, this is a big one. Turkey is a very progressive country. It is an Islamic country, and I feel like because of that, you know, the style of dress is a little bit more conservative than it is here in America. Everyone dresses very nice. Everyone looks very classy, very chic. There are some people who wear hijab, but for the most part, from what I saw, the women don't. But everyone looks very like classy, put together, looks very nice. I will say that any tourists that I saw that were wearing like little crop tops and tiny shorts, or wearing like a little backless dress that was short, like they stuck out like a sore thumb. And I could tell immediately that they were either probably American or British. No tea, no shade. Obviously I'm American, so if I was trying to offend anybody, I'd be offending myself. But I think that's an important thing to keep in mind. I think that it is a little bit more conservative dressing wise. They don't show like a ton of skin. I didn't see any cleavage while I was there. So I do think that that's something to respect about going there, and I think that's something just to keep in mind when you travel there. Another important thing about the clothing is that if you're going to go to the mosques, like the Blue Mosque or Hagia Sophia, you have to dress in accordance. So you cannot wear shorts, you cannot have shoulders showing, and you have to cover your head. So a good way to do this is just to keep a scarf with you. I got this really pretty scarf while I was there. You just put it over my head and over my shoulders when I was there, and wore a little bit of a longer dress, like a dress that went below the knee, for the days that I knew that I was going to visit those mosques. So definitely look that up. They have these really helpful little charts of how you should dress to go visit them. So please be respectful. They will turn you away at the door if you're not wearing the appropriate clothing. And yeah, just be respectful of their culture. Wear something classy, wear something cute, wear something chic, and I just wouldn't show too much skin when you're there. You will really stick out. The next tip that I have is to not exchange all of your money at one time. With the current economic situation in Turkey, the exchange rate for the dollar is literally insane. When we were there, it was like 16 lira for $1. So with that in mind, there are exchange places all over Istanbul, and I wouldn't exchange all your money at once because honestly, a day could go by and your exchange rate could get a lot better within just a few days. So I would just kind of exchange money as you go, especially because since you are getting so much for your dollar, you are probably going to end up using a lot less cash than you anticipated. Do not exchange your money at the airport. It will be so easy for you to exchange in the city. I mean, there are currency exchange places everywhere. So I definitely wouldn't do it at the airport. I would wait until you're in the city and then go exchange your money there. And then I would just exchange a little bit at a time. I think we did $100 at a time. And I think you're gonna be surprised at how little cash you end up spending while you're there. My next tip is to try all of the food. Seriously, try all of the food. Everything's phenomenal. Their food, you guys, Turkish food, is just so next level incredible. You are gonna be blown away at how good everything is. So just be open-minded, try all of the food, it's amazing. I'm making a few different videos about the food in Turkey, so make sure to come back and check out the playlist so that you can see what foods you should try when you're there. Along with the money exchange thing, definitely bring cash with you. You will need to use cash when you're in Turkey. Many places took credit cards, like a shocking amount. I actually thought way less would take credit cards, but even in like the Grand Bazaar, they take credit cards, and at a lot of markets, they took credit cards, but it is still good to have cash on you. Obviously, you need to have cash on you. So absolutely bring some cash. The other thing to keep in mind is to make sure that your credit cards do not have foreign transaction fees before you leave and start spending money with your credit card. I have a United Explorer card through Chase that does not have transaction fees, so that is the card we used the entire time we were there, and then we also had cash. Also, once you know what credit card you're going to be using, make sure you call that bank ahead of time and let them know where you're going and for how long. Negotiating the price of things is definitely expected in Turkey. Keep in mind that as a tourist, they will start you at a higher price that they would for a local. So be aggressive in your negotiation. I mean, don't insult them. Don't be like, I will give you $1 for this. Don't insult them with your negotiation, but definitely negotiate because it's expected. And that's how you're gonna get the best bang for your buck. The last thing I will tell you before you go to Turkey is that people there are so friendly and so nice. I filmed so many things while we were in Istanbul and while we were in Turkey, and it was just so heartwarming to see people be happy to be involved in the videos I was making. If I was filming them making food, they're like waving and smiling, and I don't know, they're just such kind people in Turkey, and they were so welcoming and so warm. So do not be afraid to go out and get to know the locals and meet new people. That is it for my tips and what I think you should know before you travel to Istanbul, Turkey. I really hope that this video is helpful for you. I hope it is helpful in planning your trip to Turkey. As I said before, I'm going to be creating a whole series of Turkey videos, videos sharing my experience of traveling to Istanbul and throughout Turkey. I cannot wait to share it with you guys. I had the absolute best time. I absolutely loved it there. I highly, highly, highly recommend that you go if you're able to. I'm so excited to share these videos with you. So please come back and check my channel for those. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do so below. It really does help me out. I really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next one.